Hey, vegan freaks. It's Tuesday, January 10th. It's our 23rd podcast.
When we were kids, the bugs and the birds fascinated us. They were just like us. And we were taught to slam the door. It's not cool to feel too much. But some of us break free. What are you? I'm a vegan freak. That's what you think. I'm a vegan freak. Your opinion, I'm a vegan.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Vegan Freak Radio. I'm Bob,
And I'm Jenna.
and we're coming at you with another week of vegan radio. You know, keeping it real in the vegan world here.
Yep, and we've got a jam-packed show.
We always have a jam-packed show, though, do we not?
We do.
We're a jam-packed kind of show.
Yeah, we got an amazing amount of emails and voicemails this week.
Yeah, we do.
We've got a lot of those to talk about, so we'll do those in about the middle of our show, more or less.
And we have 2 musical interludes coming at you.
Yep.
We have one for the people that are a little tired of the hardcore and punk stuff.
And then we have a hardcore punk song.
Well, of course, we got to keep it real.
Of course.
Yeah. So where are we going to go? Well, let's see. We got some, like I said, Jenna said we have shout-outs, we got music. We're going to do another If You're Not Vegan segment.
Yeah, we haven't done one of those in a while.
We haven't. And we think it's time to do one because we get a lot of feedback from those.
Mm-hmm.
And then we have a very special, very interesting, incredible interview with Josh Harper of the SHAC7.
Yeah, so for those of you who don't know, you'll find out all about, is what I'm trying to say, all about Josh Harper and the SHAC7 and the benefits that's coming up to help them.
Yeah, the benefit's really important. If you ask me, they're getting completely screwed over by the government. It is absolutely absurd what is happening to them. And when you hear the story and you read up on the case, it boggles the mind.
It's really kind of scary, actually.
I think it's very scary, especially after being, almost recently denied entry into Canada.
Yeah.
So yeah, I guess what we'll do is just roll out with the shout-outs, huh?
Let's do it.
All right, go ahead.
All right, so our first one goes to PhotoFrog1 on the forums.
Hey, Photo Frog.
She sent in a nice donation, one of those odd amounts donations, which is really kind of funny.
Yeah.
So thank you very much for that.
But we appreciate that very much. And we also need to shout out to Jennifer Dexter.
Yes, it was very, very generous.
Absolutely. And we really appreciate the donation. It came at a perfect time for us because, oddly enough, the day that the donation came, my headphones started to die.
Yeah, and they're essential for us doing the podcast. So.
They are completely essential because we use them when we're recording so we can hear each other. We can hear what we sound like as we're recording. And I also use them when I'm producing the podcast afterwards. So they're an essential ingredient, and I really appreciate the donation. It helps us a lot. All the donations help us with the cost for the show. So, yeah.
So thank you, both of you.
We appreciate it greatly. We appreciate the donation so very much.
Definitely.
And we appreciate the kind words that a lot of you have had as well.
Yeah, we need to thank everyone. We've actually gotten quite a few emails for people who said that the podcast sort of pushed them over the edge into veganism.
Yep.
And over the edge in a good way, not over the edge in a bad way. No. Although I guess we got a few of those too.
We do get a couple. We do get a couple. Did we print out the one where the person was complaining about us cursing?
No, we didn't.
Oh, I can get it though.
Okay.
But we do. We get a lot of emails that are very supportive, and we appreciate the supportive emails that we get from you all because. What the hell was that? We appreciate the supportive emails we get from you all because, first off, they make us feel like what we're doing counts, that it matters. And it's really nice to hear from people out there and to know that we've actually had an influence on you.
Yeah, and it's nice to know, two people mentioned like what parts of the podcast helped them. And for a lot of them, it was hearing about rennet or about pus in the milk. And a lot of the info about cheese really helped. So that's good. We appreciate it. And thank you so much for your kind words.
Absolutely. So I think we have a lot of new listeners. Oh, you know what? Before we go on to that, I also want to thank people for voting for us at Podcast Alley. We made it into the top 50 at Podcast Alley.
Yes, we did.
And for a while there, we were in like the top 25.
Yeah.
So that is amazing. That helps us a lot. And that has actually brought a lot of new listeners to the show.
Nice.
And that's great. So for those of you that are new listeners out there, we want to thank you for coming to the show. And for those of you that helped us to bring in some new listeners, we want to thank you too. Voting for us at Podcast Alley helps the show a lot because it just, it helps get the word out a little bit more.
Yeah.
Also, the reviews at iTunes.
Oh, yes. We need to thank you for writing some very good reviews.
The reviews there are amazing. And, extra good reviews there can't hurt. So we appreciate that a lot.
Yeah, because we know a lot of people have found our podcast on iTunes.
The vast majority, I think, have.
Yeah. So.
We also need to say that I think a lot of people don't know about our website.
I think you're right.
and I think it's because they find the podcast through iTunes, and on iTunes you just see the podcast. You don't ever see the website or anything.
Right.
So we have a website at podcast.veganfreak.com where we always put up show notes. We put up links. We put up pictures sometimes. We've got a book website at veganfreak.com. We've got a blog at veganfreaks.org. Pretty much if you type veganfreak.net, or org into your browser, you will end up at something we own.
Yeah, pretty much.
We also have forums and you can access those and all that. So we just wanted to make that clear for the folks that maybe didn't know how to get in touch with us.
Yeah, and you can send us an email, too, if you want to contact us. That's podcast@veganfreak.com is our
New
address. Yes, new address. There's also, you can go to our website and find, a place you can send us an email to, or you can put comments on the show notes as well. So there's a lot of ways to get in touch with us.
Absolutely. So yeah, we just want to encourage you to be in touch. We like to hear from listeners, more or less. No.
9 times out of 10, yeah.
I was a little mean to Ricky C last week.
Yes, a lot of people told us we were a little mean.
Not a lot, a few.
A few.
I was a little mean, and I don't feel bad about it.
It's our show, damn it.
No, I don't want to be that mean, but whatever.
But we do need to look at here. It's a new year. We need to look at the positives. We need to thank all those people who wrote really nice reviews for us.
This is true. I like that. That's a really good way to go. I think that's a much more sane way to approach things than me and my complete insanity. And I was kind of, I don't know, whatever. So, what do we do now?
Right. I don't know. So maybe for those new listeners, we need to tell people a little bit about our show.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
And to, anybody who's just sort of stumbled across our podcast, what our show is and what our show is not.
That's a good idea. That's a really good idea. I think there's some confusion out there about what our show is.
Yeah, our show is different from other podcasts and from other vegan podcasts especially.
From other podcasts and other vegan podcasts, indeed. We're not a news show.
No, we are not.
We are absolutely not. Part of our shtick is comedy, what's going on in our lives. It's part autobiography, part Dawn and Drew, part...
Yep. Conversation.
Yeah, I mean, that's really it. Our goal, I think people have mentioned this before, it's like sitting in the living room with 2 friends you have, and that's our goal, is to kind of be personable, to get to know you, we can't get to know all of you, right? There are almost 2,000 of you, but to have you get to know us and to kind of give vegan support to folks that are out there and don't have vegans nearby and stuff like that. Yeah,
that's, I think, our main goal, is to really remind people that there are other vegans out there, and we gripe about things that annoy us, and then we talk about things that we like, and so we sort of are here to create a little vegan community, virtual community for you to listen to, and a lot of people listen to at work, and
that's right.
That's what we're here
so for. It's more of a personal kind of, think of it as an audio blog in some ways. That's kind of where we're coming from.
Yeah, and we do a lot of interviews.
Right.
With people who normally don't show up on interviews, I think.
I think so, too.
So people out there, just normal vegans doing their thing, and people you might want to hear about.
And also people, I think, who are running vegan businesses and things, because I'm interested personally in finding out the motivation of folks that are out there actually doing stuff in the vegan world.
Right.
So those are the folks we try to get on the show more often than not, and every so often we will try to get regular vegan folks on the radio as well.
Yep.
So that's what we are. What we are not is we are not an impartial news source. We are incredibly partial.
Yeah.
We are vegans. We want everyone else to become vegans, and we think veganism is the way forward for the world, for animals, and for everything else.
Yeah. For people in the environment.
For people in the environment. So we don't pretend to ever present to you impartial news. We are not CNN. Well, no. CNN doesn't present to you impartial news either.
No, nobody does.
So we're not impartial. The other thing is we do some research for the show, right? But the show itself is it's just not a news show.
No, and we present some issues, and we present them in kind of a basic way. So basically, so you know about the issues a little bit. Mm-hmm. And then if you want to go look it up, that's why we have our website. We put links up, and you can go read more. And,
our forums are always a good place to go, too.
That's it.
Also, what we are not governed by the FCC.
Thank God.
The Federal Communications Commission in the United States. So we do say dirty words on occasion, and the emails about the dirty words, we appreciate hearing from people about the show and all that. But the emails about dirty words, it just gets boring after a while.
I know. We curse.
That's
a whole part of the conversational thing. When we're talking to each other at home, we curse.
Yeah, I don't even think about it much, which is maybe a little dangerous. So
True.
I feel like we talked about this in a previous podcast some months ago where we
Yeah, a
said
while
that
back. Yeah.
cursing is what we do. Cursing is part of our nature. It's part of who we are, and we do it to keep it real.
Yeah, and we don't want to censor ourselves.
No, we really don't. And I think also America has this, North America, but particularly the United States, has this kind of pushing prudishness about it that, we see coming and going every time certain political parties come into office. They push hard against, or they try to create a little bit of censorship. They come up with FCC fines. There's the whole Nipplegate thing with Janet Jackson. They get upset about people talking about dirty things on the radio. And I think that kind of spills over into our popular culture and into what we expect to hear from the entertainment that we have. I have problems with that. I think there should be free expression on the radio, and I think on a podcast in particular.
Yeah, I mean, that's why we have this independent media, is so that we can do what we want. We can say what we want. And the beauty of podcasts is that you don't have to listen. If you don't want to. If it bothers you, you can turn it off.
You can turn it off, or you can fast forward through it.
Exactly.
As we found out
a
some
lot of
people
do through the songs.
Through our music, yeah. But, hell, who cares, right? I fast forward through some of the podcasts I listen to.
Yeah, sure.
There are certain segments that I listen to and certain things I don't like, and I fast forward.
Yeah, and we're not like a lot of the other vegan podcasts, and that's a good thing, because there needs to be a variety. I mean,
I agree.
A lot of the other vegan podcasts are awesome,
and
they do it differently. And then if you want different, you go to listen to those. And I know some people listen to all of them.
Yeah, there's a whole variety out there. So anyway, we just want to make that clear for those of you out there that maybe aren't clear on where we're coming from.
Yeah, and so that's why we have our explicit rating on iTunes, and that's why we've put up a new sticker on our webpage too.
Yeah, we put up an explicit parental advisory sticker on our webpage.
So there you go.
Personally, I don't think we curse that much, and I don't think
either.
I don't think the content we discuss is all that risque in comparison to some of the things I hear out there.
Yeah, that's true.
So if you listen to Dawn and Drew, for example, they talk about anal sex and crazy things that we barely ever talk about.
This is true.
So I don't know. If it bothers you, I apologize, but I don't really apologize.
That's what we're gonna do.
Yeah, you probably shouldn't listen. So with that in mind, what I will do is read to you an email we got, and I don't really. My goal isn't to mock this person. It really isn't. But I just want you to get a sense of the kinds of things that we get on occasion, and this one is fairly representative of the kinds of emails we get that complain about profanity. All right. So this person, who I will just leave the name out. She says, as a relatively new vegan this past February, I'm still fascinated enough with the culture that I actually spend time looking for information about it on the internet. That's pretty cool. Mm-hmm. Today I happened upon your site, directed from vegweb.com, and I was surprised to find your show. I tuned in with interest to listen. And I think there should be some kind of suspenseful music here. If we had that multi-track mixer, I could put it in. Okay, sadly, I was disappointed because the use of foul language, especially by the man. The man.
You're the man.
I might be the man, but I'm not the man.
No, we're not.
I'm the man, but not the man. The man. A big difference. We talk about the man later on in the podcast, and the man came after Josh Harper pretty hardcore. Yeah. Anyway, I was disappointed because the use of foul language, especially by the man, was so gratuitous as to be distracting. While I am a 41-year-old woman, I'm certainly not so old that I'm offended by an occasional bad word. In fact, at times, I can sound a lot like a longshoreman myself. Not every vegan is a 19-year-old goth. I'll reserve comment.
Okay.
Until I'm done reading.
Okay.
Just watch your language, man. I don't know if you're aware of how you sound, but your cursing is really excessive. I'm submitting this email with trepidation because I, too, am charged with teaching the youth of America. I hope I've avoided any typos. I don't want you ridiculing me in the same way you did the guy who misspelled couch. Good luck with your podcast. I hope you are successful in converting many people to veganism. Well, that was kind of a passive-aggressively nice email.
Yeah. That's a good way to put it.
I think the 19-year-old goth thing is kind of funny.
Yeah, because I don't know any 19-year-old goths who are vegans.
No, I don't either. I mean, well, we met a goth in we met someone who kind of had goth tendencies in Toronto who was, I think, going vegan, who bought our book.
Right. I
have no problem with goths. Mm-hmm. I mean, whatever, right?
I don't either, yeah.
I'm not a goth.
No, neither are we 19.
And I'm not 19. And you just had a birthday.
I did.
You old lady.
I know.
So that's kind of funny. And I'm charged with teaching the young adults of America as well.
Mm-hmm. Yes, so am I.
Actually, I think young adults of America have no problem with cursing unless they're tight asses.
Yeah, it's rare.
So Well, anyway.
But anyway, so that's just an example of people who are upset with us.
Yeah, and I wrote back an email basically saying, well, okay, fine, you don't like it, you probably shouldn't tune in, and thanks for the feedback. So that's basically how I feel. I mean, we're not trying to be the most popular podcast in the world, because I think we could redo things if that was our goal, but I think our goal is to just keep it real.
Yep.
All right, so enough of beating that. I was going to say dead horse, but man,
that is so not vegan.
Not vegan.
No.
I'll have to remember to put the little reverb in there.
Yeah, okay.
Not vegan. Okay. So anyway, yeah.
Yeah. So, do you want to play our song?
Yeah, let's play a song.
Okay, so since we did get a few comments of people that don't like the hardcore, here's a little song for you.
Here's a lovely song about my favorite food. Lima, lentil, soy, and pinto, navy, northern, and garbanzo, kidneys, and frijoles negros. I love beans. I love beans. Woo, woo, woo. I love beans. How about you? High in fiber, low in fat. Hey, I bet you didn't know that. When I eat beans, I say it in my own little cloud. Nobody comes to visit me in my little cloud. I don't know why. Maybe because I'm cutting muffins. Because I love beans. Hey, I love beans every day. Beans are an excellent source of protein. I love beans. Dig-a-doo.
Okay, so that song we received a long time ago from Soyboy on our forums at veganfreaks.net/forums. And that song is called I Love Beans.
As if you couldn't guess that one.
And that one, we just wanted to do that one for all the people that are tired of the hardcore. We thought we'd give you something a little humorous.
I like that song.
You can sit in your gassy little cloud, as he talks about. That's by Brack. Brack, who is or was a character on Space Ghost Coast to Coast.
Yeah.
So that song is hilarious. Every time I listen to it, I die laughing, and I've been waiting for the right moment to get that song in since November. So there that is. What else do we have here? So we have a couple of things we want to talk about. For Jenna's birthday, we went to Toronto.
Yeah. It was really cool. So we went to just sort of, chill out and hang out and eat some good vegan food.
Oh, yeah.
It was really nice.
And we did eat some good vegan food.
Yes, we did.
Yep.
We tried to go to this place called Fresson, which is the fancy vegan restaurant, but it was closed for vacation, which typically happens.
That happens a lot on
on my birthday.
Yep.
So instead we went to Vegetarian Haven, which was delicious. It was excellent. It's all vegan restaurant.
Well,
wow,
almost
all vegan. They will bring you dairy milk on request for your coffee if you want it.
Which I don't get. It's
I don't either.
You're going to have an entirely vegan restaurant, and then you have milk for the coffee. What the fuck?
I don't know. But anyway.
Well, the point is, it was good food though.
Yes, it was.
I had a little rice hot pot, man. It was completely fucking amazing. It was fabulous.
I had this little tofu roulade thingy.
It was good.
It was very good, and the appetizers were just yum, yum.
So that's a highly recommended place in Toronto. And while we were in Toronto, we met Miss Anthropy.
Yes.
And that was pretty cool.
And we got to meet her family.
Her furry
family.
Very family.
The kitties are so cute.
And
Shadow
and
is
all
so
that.
adorable.
Yeah. And we talked about, we had a picture of Wizzy we linked to in a couple podcasts ago. Her cat.
Oh, yeah, her cat.
For whom she knitted a little sweater.
Yeah.
It was very cute. So that was a good time. We had a good time. Toronto was a very vegan-friendly city.
It is amazingly vegan-friendly. We went to a vegan shoe store. And we went and...
Oh, yeah. We should give a little shout out to them, too.
Yeah,
to Left Feet. That was cool.
And I got a pair of kick-ass vegan boots.
You did.
And what else? We just sort of went shopping and ate a lot of food.
Yeah, we ate and just hung out, and it was really good.
Yeah.
So...
Very vegan-friendly. We like Toronto.
It was great.
So yeah. That was Toronto. So what else?
I don't know.
I think we wanted to talk about dog food.
Oh yeah, we've been talking about dog. We talked about dog food a little bit in the past. Our dog, to whom in the past we've fed Evolution, started to have some weird kind of digestive issues.
Yeah.
And you probably have heard us talk about these digestive issues.
Because they almost killed us while we were doing the show.
There were some times when he would bust so much ass that it would get in the back of my throat. I would could not talk. It was really bad. He had some digestive issues with evolution, and after talking to Misanthropy about evolution, she's done some research on them. I hope I'm not outing her here in terms of things she doesn't want outed, but suffice to say, if she wants to put the research out, she will. If she doesn't, she won't. But she's done some research, and I read some of that as well, and I thought, well, maybe we should try a different brand for the dog to see if maybe there's an ingredient or something in evolution that wasn't agreeing with him. So we tried V-Dog, which we've recently seen ads for in some of the vegan magazines.
Mm-hmm.
And V-Dog is what, Happy Dog?
Happy Dog in
It's
Britain.
Happy Dog in the UK?
Yeah.
So we tried V-Dog out, and that seems to be working out pretty well.
Yeah, he's been doing really well.
I had an email about V-Dog. Where did it go?
Yeah, I have it.
Pass me that
Here.
shit.
And
Thanks.
yeah, I mean, he hasn't been on it for a really long time, but he's been on it for at least a couple weeks now, and he's been doing well, and he hasn't had any digestive problems, and
No.
his allergies seem to be better.
Yeah, he also had, our dog has had some allergic reactions.
Yeah, so he seems to be doing pretty well, and it's been around for a really long time in Britain.
It has. And
So
what I liked about it was it's not tested on animals. It uses all natural ingredients. It has no artificial colors or preservatives. It has a crunchy texture that helps control tartar buildup and maintain healthy teeth and gums. I mean, come on, any dog food's going to have that, right? Except for the canned stuff. Let's see. Also, they say from their website that environmentally friendly materials are used for V-Dog packaging and marketing. And it contains rosemary, parsley.
okay, for
Sage
good
and
doggy.
thyme, no. Rosemary and parsley. And basically, they say it's a complete food.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to give V-Dog a shot. And so far, it's been working out pretty well.
Yeah.
We are really hesitant to change the foods that we're feeding him because, it's hard on him.
Yeah, we had mixed it in for a little while with other things, so.
Yeah. The V-Dog nuggets, though, they're big. They're like probably... I mean, I'm making a little... Jenna can watch me. I'm like, they're this big, Jenna. And I'm holding up my hand.
Yes.
Like she knows how big they are.
Yes.
You can't see me. And I'm telling you, they're this big. Okay. I don't know. I mean, I guess they're probably about...
Maybe a quarter size?
They're bigger than that.
Bigger than a quarter?
Yeah, they're big. But then you see we get into the problem of international listenership. Not everybody knows how big a quarter is. I was going to say that. I was going to say as big as a $50.
As big as a euro coin? I don't know.
I don't know how big a euro coin
I've
is.
never seen a euro coin, so.
See? So anyway, they're, I guess, maybe an inch or so long, and they're kind of oblong. They're different shapes. No?
Yeah.
And they're a little bigger than the other nuggets. I just say nugget, and for some reason, nugget's very funny to me. Nugget.
It's a funny word.
Nugget. I just want to throw in one thing very quickly that'll make Dino laugh really hard.
Okay.
Nut milk. That's this Beavis moment brought to you by
Anyway.
nut milk. So anyway, they're crunchy little nuggets, and I haven't tried them. I thought it. Well,
They're vegan.
They're vegan, so I could try them and not be, transgressing. I generally don't like anything. I've tried dog food before. My brother recently, when we were home, tried a vegan dog biscuit and said it was pretty good. So.
Okay, well.
But anyway, we're hoping this one will work out pretty well, and it looks like a good alternative at the moment, and it's nice to see that it's distributed in the U.S.
Yeah, and you can order it on the internet, which is how we got it.
Internets, Jenna.
Oh, sorry, internet.
That's how George Bush says it. Internets.
Okay, so that's what it is.
All two of them.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so anyway, we're done ranting and raving about that.
Right.
It feels so good to do that.
We need the Dave Letterman moment.
Oh,
Sound
yeah.
of the breaking
Well,
glass.
There you go.
Oh, well, anyway.
Okay, so V-Dog we hooked up with here. What else do we have?
If you're not vegan yet.
Oh, the If You're Not Vegan Yet segment. We do these on occasion. For those of you that are new to the show, we just do this little segment like, hey, you're an ovo-lacto vegetarian or you're a meat eater out there and you're just hanging out and you're wondering, why would I ever become vegan?
Yes, why would I make myself a social outcast?
No, come on. Not all vegans are social outcasts.
I know.
Just we are.
Okay.
No, I mean, it's like, okay, so why go vegan? Well, we talked a little bit a couple weeks ago about questions of pus and milk.
Mm-hmm.
And I found a really nice website.
Ah, yes. Milk sucks.
Give me.
Milksucks.com.
Or you can look at it. I don't give a shit.
Here, I can read this one. You can read the next one.
Okay.
Okay. So we talked about pus in milk and how there was pus in milk and why there was pus in milk, but we didn't give any factoids.
Yeah, no
Basically,
factoids.
no numbers. So, basically pus are what they call somatic cells. Okay? And the pus count is the somatic cell count to measure the amount of pus in milk. Okay, so any milk with a somatic cell count of higher than 200 million per liter should not enter the human food supply, according to the dairy industry. Therefore, anyone living in a state where the somatic cell count is higher than 200 million shouldn't be drinking milk. There's only one problem. Every state but Hawaii is producing milk with pus levels so high that it shouldn't enter the human food supply. Yeah.
Yummy.
The national average is 322 million per liter.
Yummy.
Well above the industry's limit, their own limits.
Yeah, right. So,
And where this pus come from when the cow gets mastitis, which is an infection of the udders, and that's exacerbated by using bovine growth hormone. Basically, most of the stuff that we sell is you shouldn't be selling for milk.
Right.
But people are drinking on a regular basis.
some of it will be illegal to sell in Europe.
Yeah.
At this site, which is PETA, and PETA has a lot of resources.
They do.
I know some of you have gripes with PETA, but their resources are actually quite amazing if you go there. This is milksucks.com/pus.asp. Now, ASP, come on. PETA, you should be using some open source web servers for fuck's sake. ASP stuff. Come on, you're using... Isn't this a Microsoft thing, ASP?
I don't know.
I don't really know. I guess, well, who knows? Anyway, maybe I'm wrong. I probably am. Some geek out there will tell me I'm wrong. Okay, right. So they have a little map. You can click on your state and find out what your somatic cell count is for your state. And it's pretty gross.
Yeah.
So you should go there and look at that. The other reason that you shouldn't drink milk, and therefore eat cheese, is that there are labor concerns involved in these things. And we've touched on this all along, but I found an article at salon.com about this. And I'll just read you a little bit of the article. It says, lazing cows dot the rolling hills of the picturesque Willamette River Valley, and the air smells sweet of grass and manure. Manure does not smell sweet to me.
No.
But the sunny image masks a grim reality for dairy workers like Arturo Ramirez. For 6 years, Ramirez's duties included maintaining a pump that sprayed liquid dung onto the fields as fertilizer. To get the pump, he had to walk waist deep in manure across a pit as long as a swimming pool. Now, that's really wading in shit.
Yeah, that's nasty.
Wading through manure isn't like walking through water. The sludge is heavy, the rotten egg smell hydrogen sulfide rises off the slick surface, and if you're unlucky, you can slip and drown. Ramirez didn't die in the manure pit, a fate met by 3 workers in California. Could you imagine dying by drowning in manure?
No.
That is disgusting.
That is disgusting.
But as he waded through the waste of 380 cows, it slid into his knee-high boots. Because it's impossible to completely scrub away the bacteria from manure, Ramirez passed a skin infection on to his wife and her 2 daughters. I felt like a slave. It was like my boss had a whip, says Ramirez, 27, who relocated to this lush rural valley from the desert of central Mexico. So what they go on to say here is that basically what's happening is Ramirez is an immigrant. He works 12 to 16 hours a day, 6 days a week, and he works for minimum wage, no overtime pay. And basically he was afforded no lunch breaks until February of the year this article was published, which was in 2004, when Oregon passed a new law that required that people get lunch breaks. So in 40 other states, there's no law like this, which means that the people that are working have to eat while they're working. So they're working around animals that have all kinds of infections, right? Are passing on all of this stuff, right?
Yeah.
And if they want to eat, they have to eat while they're working. And also, the workers in these particular situations in dairy farms face the possibility of being kicked. They face exposure to toxic gases that are in manure, and some people have theorized that these gases can cause permanent neurological damage. So this is basically what happens, right? I mean, it's this really, literally a shitty job. And so in order for us to have the cheap dairy and the cheap cheese and all the other cheap agricultural products that we're used to, this comes out of somebody's hide, right? I mean, in more ways than one. Mm-hmm. And we depend upon this kind of cheap labor in order to produce milk at the cost that we have it at. And I don't think, if we can talk about organic milk later on, because I think we need to talk about that at some other point.
Mm-hmm.
But this is the if you're not vegan segment and why you need to be vegan. Because, go ahead.
Right. No, I was just going to say that it's not just bad for the cows. It's bad. The reason that you can drink milk and it's cheap is because of the labor, because we pay, a pittance and put people through these horrible conditions, put cows through these horrible conditions. The other reason you can pay so little for milk is because they're getting more out of every cow through means that aren't natural, through hormones, through breeding and all kinds of things that they're nasty things they're doing to cows, and then they're killing them a lot early.
The important thing to remember, I think, about animal agriculture is that animals stop being viewed as entities that have any kind of thought, any kind of life, any kind of independent existence, and they become centers for the production of profit first and foremost. And that's what they become.
Mm-hmm.
So the goal, of course, is to squeeze the most profit possible out of these particular animals. And when you do that, you necessarily throw all the other stuff to the side.
Yeah.
Because it's a hindrance to profit.
Exactly, which includes being fair to your workers
Absolutely.
as well.
Yeah, I mean, we talk about this in our book as well.
Mm-hmm.
We talk about how all of these things are intertwined and how capitalism is implicated, how it's a system itself that produces this kind of oppression throughout the entire system, not only of people, but also of animals.
Mm-hmm. So
there
it's
you
just a horrible, dirty industry.
But I'm a commie bastard, so what do I know?
Right.
Okay, so if you're not vegan yet, you should be.
So there's some more food for thought.
And we're here to help you be vegan.
Mm-hmm.
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 So think about it.
Yeah.
Next time you get that glass of milk and raise it to your mouth, or next time you try to take a bite of that cheese, think about all the suffering that's involved in that.
Yep.
There's a lot.
Think about that guy wading waist deep in the manure to
And
bring you your milk.
Think about the people that drown in the shit to provide you with milk.
Man,
You know? Come
that's
on.
just a nasty way to go.
You know, you might be like, oh, I don't live in California. I'm not drinking milk from California. You know what? You probably are.
Mm-hmm.
Because California, Arizona, Texas, Florida, these are the big dairy production states because of intensive confinement practices. So you may be drinking milk from California.
Yeah, it all sort of gets pulled together anyway. So.
It does. But probably you're drinking it from somewhere not terribly far from where you live.
Yeah.
More, within 1,000 miles.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway,
Right.
let's move on.
Okay. I believe for now we need to go to our 10 million emails that
Wow.
we got over the last week.
Okay, let's do it.
All right.
You've got mail.
Okay, let's see here. Cialis? No, don't need that. Bigger bus size? No. Free iPod? Oh, might do that. Oh, are you pleasing your woman? Well, I better ask her. Oh, well, what's this? Vegan freak email? Vegan freak email.
Last
Yes.
week, we asked for people to send in their New Year's resolutions. And we've heard from a few people by email, and we got a few voicemail, so they're coming up afterwards.
Mm-hmm.
So let's see, what do we got here? We got one from Princess Brat.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see, what does she say?
You could just kind of summarize this.
Yeah. This is the year I will finally get my act together and go vegan.
Do it.
Do it.
Go vegan.
I will have the whole year, but this is when I went vegetarian. I gave myself a year thought, but after a month, I was like, no more meat for me ever. So it's a good time to go vegan.
It is a good
Princess
time.
Brat, it's a good time. Just think about it. Just do it.
It's still not too late. I mean, the new year has begun, but we're only, 10 days into it.
We are.
So you can always start now.
Yeah, just pick a date and do it.
Absolutely. And we have an email from Carly. And Carly says she was going to call and leave a voicemail, but she couldn't find the number. The number is...
267-295-1944.
There you go. 267-295-1944 is our number. And you can always find it at podcast.veganfreak.com. But anyway, Carly writes to say, and she's not a patient person, so she didn't want to find it. She just knew our email address and went for it. She thought she would just send us an email. So these are her resolutions. She wants to bask in the glory of her official veganism.
Yay.
She's a full-blown vegan as of 1/1, so congratulations there. Great
Yeah.
news. She upgraded from an iBook to a PowerBook.
Nice.
Pretty cool.
Sweet.
And new Mac.
Oh, yeah.
They're called MacBooks now.
MacBooks.
They're
look
out today.
Incredible.
Or no, they're out in February, but they were announced today.
Okay.
She says she wants to get her rad jewelry business up and going so she can cease working for the man within 2 to 3 years.
Nice.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
She wants to get a little organized, like you, she says. Like me, I
That would
guess.
be you.
But like me, she sucks in this department. So she says that she just wants to get a little organized. She says, you see, I didn't say get really organized or get totally organized. A little will be a big step. Same for me.
You did clean your office, though.
I did. It looks fabulous.
It does. I can see the top of your desk.
I know.
And the cat looks a lot happier because he's not wading in papers right now.
The cat likes it.
The cat's sitting there staring at the clock.
Yep.
I don't know why.
He's a freak.
I don't know.
What else did we say? Oh, she's going to develop more tolerance for stupid fucking people.
That's a good one because I have very little tolerance for that.
This is true. Jenna does not brook a fool. I'm pretty cynical and which is actually kind of surprising when you think that she's with me, right? She does not brook fools, yet she's married one. I'm pretty cynical and get frustrated with people very easily, so I hope to let their dumbassedness slide off my back without getting totally pissed off and worked up about it. And yes, I know that dumbassedness is not an official word, and she's an English major, or was. And in response to his podcast, lying on the couch in a lime green thong, I can't say that I have envisioned that exact image before. However, I do listen to Fetish Flames podcast, and their take on that image can be seen here. Ooh. I will post.
Okay.
It will be in the show notes.
Excellent.
So thanks for that, Carly.
Yeah, awesome.
Yep. And maybe I shouldn't out you as Rat Girl as well. I just did.
Okay, well, there you go. Anyway.
Go ahead.
So yeah, I think those are all the resolutions we got via email. But we did get a ton of other emails.
Yep.
Just some quick things, let's see. This one's from Tina. She said, we were talking about having a vegan Christmas and having to impress some carnivores with vegan food. Yep. You must simply run out and get Drina Burton's Viva la Vegan cookbook. It is the best vegan cookbook ever, and all my carnivore friends rave about the recipes in it. Two of my friends bought it because they love the recipes I made. The recipes are flavorful with nice textures and easy to make. The double chocolate almond cookies are to die for, and no one believes me when I say they're vegan.
So there you go.
Yeah, I've been meaning to get this cookbook, and your mom has a copy of it.
Yeah, she does.
And I looked through it, and it does look just incredible. So I've been drooling over. Drina Burton has a website where she chronicles the things that she's been making, and a lot of them are from her cookbook. So she's been posting pictures, and it's been looking really good. So she has a lot of good stuff. Go check it out.
Yeah, she's got a blog, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And she's on our forums too.
Yes, she is.
Hot shit.
Yeah.
Very cool.
So I'm glad you reminded me because I've been meaning to go get that cookbook, and now I will.
There you go.
Okay. Here,
What else?
you can read that one.
I can read this one. Okay, this is from Todd, or Blue. I just leave it at that. He goes by Blue on our forums and in the chat room. He says, I started hanging out with a new group of friends about a month or so ago, none of them vegans and quite antithetical to our way of life, to be honest. At first, they weren't into my bringing vegan food to parties, but the host would make it... I'm sorry. The cat is distracting me here. Okay, so at first, they weren't into bringing vegan food to parties, but the host would make it to be kind to me. As weeks have passed and over Christmas and New Year's, I noticed that several people in the group made vegan without me asking, and I was totally thrown off guard by this because I never asked them. I actually prepared a dish for myself, which I'll mention in a minute. As a lesson and in concurrence with what you were saying, stick to your guns and people will respect you more. Nobody likes wishy-washy. For example, John Kerry, LOL. Anyway, just a quick note. The crowd loved my Nature's Path hemp chocolate vegan brownies with peanut butter, endangered species tiger bar with dark chocolate with espresso and coffee extract. Again, little by little, the taboo of veganism is beginning to fade for at least a chosen few. Vegans rock and flexitarians quit fucking up all our hard work. Way to go, Todd. And Todd, we sent you your damn button.
Yes, we did. We mailed it today.
Because he said in the PS, if you use this, I want my damn button. So we sent Todd his damn button today. Good email. I mean, that's a great point. You have to stick to your guns. People will come around. They eventually get tired of teasing you about it. And if they don't get tired of teasing you about it, you need new friends. Because they're just being douchebags.
Yeah, or you just tell them to go to hell.
Yeah, you need to just tell them,
point.
Bite me.
Yeah.
Or something like that. The only thing I didn't like about this email, and I have to remind you, I'm not a huge fan of John Kerry. I really don't like him. But that seemed to me to be almost a Bill O'Reilly-ish kind of jab.
Yeah.
I'm not a huge fan of the Democrats. But don't presume that I'm a huge fan of the Republicans because I'm less of a fan of them. I'm actually to the left of any major political party in this country. So who knows? Mm-hmm. But yeah, wishy-washy.
Yeah.
Whatever. All right, let's move on.
Okay. So this one is from Sarah. Sarah says that she sent us a voicemail a few weeks back about the wife swap episode, which is cool. Thank you, Sarah, for that. And she wanted to share something that she got in the mail. A month or so ago, she got a shopper's voice survey thingy in the mail. She was so bored, so she filled it out and sent it in. It was questions about food and household products. I felt that this would be an interesting opportunity to give a voice to vegans by representing them in the survey. Way to go. Anyway, I just received some coupons and a little brochure thing with the results and frequently asked questions. To get to the point, on the back was a bar graph that showed the things that we want less. Apparently, 56% of people want less calories in their life. 58% of people want less fat and cholesterol in their life, and only 17% of people want less meat in their life. I'm amazed again and again how people can't seem to make this connection. I get very annoyed that people can be so ignorant about what they're putting into their bodies and where it comes from. I guess this is just another fine example of how people completely ignore the specifics of their life as a way to avoid feeling guilty about it. Indeed.
Mm-hmm.
Indeed. And she says, I hope all is well with you both and your holiday was super awesome. It was, thank you.
It was pretty awesome.
But yeah, you make a good point. That people want fewer calories and they want less fat and cholesterol, but not only 17% of them want to do it by eating less meat, which is the way to cut out cholesterol and fat and calories.
You know, we read this Neil Barnard book. I think it was Neil Barnard a while ago, and he had this list of things that you could eat as much of as you wanted.
Oh, yeah. Uh-huh.
You could eat all day, every day. Well, you probably couldn't because you'd explode, but you could eat as much of the stuff as you wanted to, and I like that because it was cool. You know, it had like oranges and kind of cool stuff on the list. It wasn't clearly it's not going to be potato chips and shit like that, right? But it had a lot of stuff on the list that I actually like to eat, and that was a cool idea because you could eat as much as you wanted on a vegan, in these for these foods and not gain much weight or any weight, and they're good for you.
Yeah. Right.
So you can actually eat more as a vegan. You just have you eat more off of certain things rather than others. Am I making any sense?
Yeah, like you
Help
eat.
me.
Basically, he did an interesting comparison. Like, okay, you eat a pound of meat and it's this many calories, and it does this for your body or whatever. And to get the same, basically, effect or something like that, you had to eat like 20 pounds of lettuce or something, like to get that many calories. The thing is, but you get a lot fuller faster by eating lettuce, So you eat lettuce and then you get full, and because the fiber is actually doing correct things to your body and telling it it's full at the right time. And that way, if you eat a lot of lettuce, for example, I'm just using it's a bad example, but
it works.
Then it does good things for your body. Whereas if you eat the same amount of meat to get the same calories, it does bad things to you.
Yeah, I mean the other thing is it leads to a sense of fullness, and you don't eat quite as many calories that way.
Right.
Which is why when we switched to brown rice, I lost a bit of weight.
Yeah.
It made me feel more full.
Right.
But I wasn't getting the same amount of calories.
Exactly.
Because it was all getting kind of scrubbed out with the fiber.
Fiber's good for you.
With the fiber. Yeah, it's pretty funny. I mean, I'm thinking here of a thread on our forums where Josh said he and Chad at Food Fight use movie titles as a euphemism for going to the bathroom. so I was going to say, I had a lot of interviews with the vampire or whatever. I just thought this was really funny.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's move on. What do I have? Right, this email is from Alex H. And Alex H says, this probably happens a lot in vegans' lives when we are forced to face meat and eggs. Well, in my advanced bio class, we were doing experiments on meat and eggs on Friday, and I feel very uncomfortable doing this. I'm afraid Friday has passed. I'm sorry, Alex.
Yeah.
We're a little behind. You should have sent this in a couple weeks ago. Mm-hmm. But anyway, and he feels uncomfortable doing he or she. Alex is one of those other names like Chris. I don't even know how to bring it up to the teacher that I'm a vegan and do not want to deal with raw meat or such. She's the kind of teacher that would go, okay, go sit out and you get a 0. So is there anything out there saying that I'm not forced to do this while I'm still getting a grade for it? I know I will most likely just have to face it. Any advice? And have either of you had to deal with a similar situation? P.S. Your podcast is what has inspired me to become vegan. It is humorous and very informative. It's fucking awesome.
Excellent.
In caps.
Thank you so much.
So thanks, Alex. I haven't had to deal with this, and I don't. Have you?
No, but we addressed this many podcasts ago.
Yeah,
a little bit. A similar question, because somebody had a question about using for dissection and using like things like live chicks and hatching eggs in classrooms. And PETA, and I'll find the link for it and put it up on the website, actually has a really good description of what you can tell your teacher to get out of it. And if you're willing to make a big deal out of it, they are supposed to give you an alternate assignment or just let you watch and not participate. Or something like that, and not give you a 0.
But you have to use if you are in the United States. I don't know if this works everywhere else. You have to use very specific language in the United States to have this work, which is to say that it stems from your deeply held moral and religious beliefs. Because if it comes from a religious or moral belief like that, they cannot discriminate against you. I mean, we have if it's a public school, of course, they can't discriminate against you on the basis of religion. So if you say that your belief in not doing these things stems from your deeply held religious and moral convictions, the school should accommodate you.
Yeah, should.
They may not. I mean, but they really should if it's a public school. If it's a private school, you may be on shakier ground.
This is true. But
still, that's probably the safest bet right there.
Yeah, so I'll put that link up and you can go read. I believe it's at PETA 2, I think. Anyway, I'll find it because I've had it in the past. And because there are a lot of people who do have to deal with that situation, and they shouldn't have to dissect or do anything that you don't want to do. I mean, a lot of people, I remember kids getting out of things in class for just various reasons. So you should be able to do that because it is your moral belief.
Absolutely.
So.
Okay, are we done with the emails?
One more.
Oh my God, we should have saved some for next week.
Yeah. This one's a quick one.
Okay.
This one's from Robin, a new fan of our podcast. She was shooting root beer through her nose when our dog made a cow noise on the subway. And she just wanted to say that the rap song about beef that we played last week is by KRS-One, that we didn't mention his name, and she wanted to know if we knew, so we needed to clarify that. So thank you so much for that clarification.
We do appreciate that. One thing I've been thinking about on a totally different topic, I've been wondering if we should try to create some kind of index for the show, because people often will approach me and say, well, have you done a show on X, Y, or Z, whatever the topic may be. And we have, and I look and I'm like, I have no idea where this is. So I wondered if we should do that. Do you think that people out there, those of you out there in vegan freakdom out there in the world, do you think this would be a useful thing to have? And if you do think it's a useful thing to have, might you be willing to index a show or two? Because we could get if we had people that would do 1 or 2 shows, you just write kind of what was in the show,
right?
Maybe a list of terms or a couple different words. If each person would do 1 or 2 shows, we only need 10 people to do this.
This is true.
So, we need 20 people to do a show each. I think it'd be really useful. I would love to do it personally. I don't have the time between websites and my real job and all this stuff. But if there's interest out there, I would love to have the help.
Yeah,
to do this.
That'd be a good idea.
It'd be very useful. Yep. So, all right, I'm done with are we done with the emails?
We're done with the emails.
Okay, cool.
Drop the phone, it'll save you a tenner. Send an email to Bob and Jenna.
Time once again for some vegan freak voicemail. Maybe we'll hear from a hot chick.
Or a choice male.
Callers make us happy and help us keep our sanity, even if all they wanna do is fucking complain about the shitload of profanity.
Okay, so we're back, and now we have some voicemails. Our first one comes from Webley, and she talks about her New Year's resolutions.
Hey, this is Webley. I'm in Portland. I just wanted to call and give you my New Year's resolutions, because I don't normally do them, but this year just happened to be that my changes are happening around New Year's. So I am working on budgeting, where I save all my receipts and stuff and figure out what I'm spending all my money on. And then I'm also going to try to kick my sugar addiction this year, which is too bad because there's so many good sweets around right now. But I wanted to comment on Jenna's resolution for meal planning. I just wanted to say that I know of a certain Christmas present that might be able to help her with that. Maybe this is a plug for myself, but the kitchen calendar. It's a great meal planning tool if you know how to use it properly, which there are instructions on it. And if she has any problems, she can give me an email. Send me an email, and I will help her learn how to use it. Happy New Year!
Yeah, so thank you for that, Webley.
Yeah, good voicemail.
Definitely. So let's see. The budgeting, definitely a good idea. Good thing to keep track. I think we're going to try to do that too.
Yeah, we could stand to do that.
Yeah, definitely. It's good. It's really interesting to see where you spend your money.
It is.
And yeah, the Webley calendar. We can definitely use that to plan our meals. So I thank you for reminding me
Absolutely.
that I can use it to keep my New Year's resolution.
Not a bad idea.
So very cool.
Yeah.
Dog wants to play.
Apparently. Was there anything else that we wanted to talk about?
No, I think that was it.
Okay.
Hey, Bob and Jenna. This is insert name here from the forums. I got the audacity to leave you guys a voicemail. So, really what I wanted to speak of was, as you may know, I'm still in high school, and honestly, I've gotten so far as dietary veganism, but living in a house with omnis who can catch on to at least my dietary veganism, I haven't been able to really sway my mom. Actually, she buys all the stuff. Sway my mom about vegan household cleaning products, shampoo, deodorant, because mostly what we can find is online, and she hates paying shipping and using her credit card. So for people like me, because of course once I am out of high school on my own, I do obviously plan to move, or not move, but accelerate to that level of veganism, I guess. And but as for now, I guess I'm asking for suggestions, I guess, because I know you guys have all sorts of links on your site to great sites, but for me, pretty much unavailable. And pretty much I'm looking for suggestions of products, I guess, that I could find in reality, like any department store like Target. Actually, I did find the Method products. They're amazing. Entirely. That's it. See you on the forums.
Okay, so thanks, insert name here, for that voicemail. It's good to hear your voice.
Yeah, absolutely. I always thought you were female.
I did too.
Somehow your post had that, I don't know, you read all these different people on the forums and you never know. You never know. I mean, what the hell, who knows? But I always thought you were a girl.
But now I know otherwise.
Definitely not.
So, in answer to your question, around here, the kinds of products that we can find, even in the middle of nowhere, are Tom's of Maine.
Mm-hmm. We can get that at our grocery store.
Yeah, which is surprising.
Our grocery store's pretty shitty.
Yeah. And they have deodorant, too. They even have, deodorant at one of the grocery stores, too.
Yeah.
Deodorant and soap.
Deodorant, soap, mouthwash.
Mm-hmm. All that kind of stuff. Toothpaste.
Mm-hmm.
And...
Although you have to be careful with some of the Tom's of Maine stuff, because some of it have propolis.
Propolis,
yeah.
which comes from bees.
Right. So I think some of their products aren't completely vegan, but,
Otherwise, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. The other big one is Kiss My Face. or as Rat like to call it, Kiss My Ass.
I always call it that, too. Kiss My Ass.
Kiss My Ass products.
Yeah, they're all over it. Jason is another one, isn't it?
Yeah, Jason, that is less common, but I see it occasionally.
Uh-huh. What else?
I don't know. Sometimes you can find random things around, too, and if you just read the labels. So those are things you can find without having to order off the internet.
Absolutely. I mean, in terms of like household cleaner stuff too, there's always Citrusol, which you can get in a lot of places.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And then you already mentioned the Method stuff, which I haven't seen because we don't have it anywhere around here, but I've heard it's really good.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes you can find like the 7th Generation or Ecover.
Yeah, you can in a better grocery store.
Mm-hmm.
What other questions were in there? I
think that was about it. Stuff to find in real life,
yeah,
not on the internet.
Not in the cyber world.
Yeah. So those are the big ones that we can find around here even.
Yeah, and we live in the boonies.
Yeah.
It's snowmobile season in the boondocks.
It is. It's horrible.
I've been really mean about snowmobiles lately.
Yeah. But they're getting pathetic. There's like not much snow because it's actually been warm. It's been over freezing for the last 2 days, which is amazing for January. And they're still out there in the like dusting of snow that we have right now.
It's very rare for here.
Yeah.
Very rare.
So, anyway.
So, yeah, you can find that stuff in a lot of places. And, it's not totally impossible.
Nope.
So we'd encourage you to give it a shot.
Definitely.
Or to get your mom to give it a shot.
Right. Yeah.
I would certainly think it would be tough being like a teenage vegan and living at home and having your parents buy stuff for you. And maybe they aren't completely down with veganism, trying to get them to do that. That could be kind of hard.
Yeah, I can see that. Especially if, I always wonder, like, with teenagers, how does it work out with cooking? Because, I would imagine parents do most of the cooking. So do you do the cooking, or does your parents, like, cook vegan for you? Or how does that work?
Well, maybe you could let us know via voicemail.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on.
Okay, so we have a final voicemail for this week from Mo.
Hi, vegan freaks. I'm a first-time caller and to leave you voice comments on your show. Love your show, just transitioning into veganism. And I found your show, got your book, love the book, love your website, love your chat, love your forums. Oh, gosh, that cake is just, oh, my gosh, you guys probably had a wonderful eatings on that. Anyways, the reason why I am calling, besides to, give you a shout-out, love your show, love your book, love your pictures, love your website, love everything, is I actually do my own podcast, but I'm not here to, toot my own horn. But anyways, I was just on hiatus from podcasting and was doing a show today, and I was talking about, my transition into veganism, and I know it's still probably running a little long, but anyways, transitioning into veganism, and what I do on my show is I have a PodSafe Music Roulette, which I just go into the PodSafe Music Network, which is all royalty-free music, so I would point you there. Anyways, that's not the point of my call. Anyway, so I'm doing my show, and I'm talking about veganism and, you know, pointing to your sites and all the good books and stuff that I've been reading. And, okay, so I know I'm kind of unorganized in the head today. It's 1st of January, and you wonder why. So I pick a song, I pick a genre, and then I pick a song out of it, and then I play it on my show, and actually I don't listen to the song before I play it. But I, you know, picked a song, and I played it, and what's really creepy is that it was a song about, to me, veganism. So if you can, you know, listen to it, it's called The Owner of This Coat by Maria Danes, and she put this song up there on today, so it should be easy for you to find. If you log in as a podcaster, you can, you know, download this music free. And it's about, you know, a coat and how it was made from an animal who was killed and butchered, and this coat is just made for the, you know, the pleasure of the person wearing it. And I just, you know, just really creeped me out because I was just talking about, you know, my transition into veganism, and I just picked a song out of the blue, and it just kind of fit right in with my show. Yeah, so anyways, just have a listen at that song and let me know what you think, because I'd be interested. I love the song. And I love your show, and that hoagie is just awesome looking, and that cake, oh my God, and look at the cute puppy. Anyways, transitioning newbie vegan, and love the show, and I hang on every show. It gives me motivation and lots of information, and love the book, and yeah, I'll keep listening, so keep up the good work. Bye.
All right, well, thanks for that, Mo.
Yeah, thanks for the recommendation. We haven't checked out the podcast library. The
PodSafe
Music Network is
what do you mean we?
Okay, I haven't.
There you go.
You have? Okay.
I have indeed. I have an account there.
Very good. Then we can find the song.
Yes, we can, and we will. We kind of have a queue of music. We were just now getting around to playing music that we got in November. So,
yeah, so
we'll work our way through it. But that's a great recommendation.
Yeah, and thanks for all the kind words about the show. We really appreciate it.
Absolutely.
And that's all our voicemails for the week.
Was there anything else in that voicemail we needed to talk about, though?
It was just the record song recommendation. She thought it was funny because it was
and do we have we don't... Okay, so she mentioned that she does a podcast,
She does a podcast, too. And it's Hot Potato Mo.
Hot Potato Mo.
Yeah.
All right.
So I'll put a link up to
We'll
that.
link that for sure. We also had another voicemail that we got this week, but we want to put that one off for next week because we think it'll generate a lot of discussion.
Yeah, so we don't really have time for it this week, but we will play it next week.
Absolutely. We will get to it next week, and that one is from Megan. Mm-hmm. And it's about vet school and but dissection mostly, and animal usage and things like that. Mm-hmm. We'll get to that one next week because we won't have the time this week.
Right, and we just got a voicemail like today, so we will use that next week as well.
Absolutely.
Okay.
All right.
267-295-1944. Write the number down on your refrigerator door. Add the 001 country code if you call us from Vienna. That's how you leave a voicemail for good old Bob and Jenna.
Okay, so what we have coming up is we got a little song for you. And this is a song from a CD that was sent to me by one of our listeners in the UK. And this listener of ours in the UK is also the person who wrote our kick-ass, amazing, high-quality, completely fabulous, often raved about theme song.
Yes.
People like our theme song a lot. And by the way, if you like our theme song, you can download it as an MP3 from our site.
Nice.
At podcast.veganfreak.com.
There you go.
You should see my face when I do that. There's a mirror across from me so I can see when I look. I get evil. I get this evil look, like, I don't know why. But anyway, this is from Rat. Rat sent me the CD. And it is completely amazing. And I thought one of these songs off of here was kind of appropriate given our interview segment for this week's show. So this song is called Hillgrove, and it's by Riot Clone. And the lyrics are incredible. I know some of you out there don't listen to a lot of punk, a lot of hardcore or whatever, but you should. You should listen to lyrics. At least try to appreciate them, because if you ask me, you're going to find the best animal liberation music in punk and hardcore.
Yep.
I think that's where you find the most of it.
Yeah, definitely. By
Some
far.
people out there are surely going to agree with me. I mean, I'm sure there's something else, right? They're probably like, hippies with guitars and stuff singing like this. But actually, a lot of the hippies I know are really into like organic dairy and
Yeah, they're mostly vegetarians,
range.
if they're anything. Yeah.
Like free range, man.
Yeah.
They're all into free range. Anyway, this album is called Do You Want Fries With That? And it is an amazing album. It's kind of a cool concept too. It's got probably about 15 musical tracks, and between every musical track is also this little thing. I don't know, when you put in the computer, it's labeled as a link, but they have these kind of non-musical bits. They're snippets off the BBC and things like that. You'll hear the link coming in this song, and then it goes into a song. So anyway, this is by Riot Clone. The album is Do You Want Fries With That? And the song is Hillgrove.
The ALF's tactics have succeeded in closing down Hillgrove Farm. Last August, Chris Brown and his family decided they'd had enough of living under siege.
Fund managers Phillips and Drew have already sold their stake in a research company, reportedly because they've received threats. Intimidating city investors is a new tactic for campaigners against animal experiments.
Phillips and Drew are today saying little about the reports that their staff have been threatened by animal rights activists. A company spokesperson confirmed that it had sold its 11% stake in Huntington Life Sciences, but refused to go into any more detail about why.
Down in Whitney, Oxfordshire, there's been a farm for many years. You won't find this farm in fairy tales. Here cats and kittens were raised to sale. Dark and sheds they had the fun. The kittens would never feel the sun. Cats used to breeding factories. The kittens sold the vivisection laboratories. Show me a battle, the war's not won, but let's celebrate now. Hillgrove's gone. Show me a battle, the war's not won, but let's celebrate now. Hillgrove's gone. Show me a battle, the war's not won, but let's celebrate now. Hillgrove's gone. Show me a battle, the war's not won, but let's celebrate now. Hillgrove's gone. Months by month, a campaign game place. Investors massed around the place. Cost of security spiraled high, but on profession there was no sight. On processes injustice was served. Didn't get this under a nerve. Finally, Christopher Evans caved and ended his rule in human trade. Show me a battle, the war's not won, but let's celebrate now. Hillgrove's gone. Show me a battle, the war's not won, but let's celebrate now. Hillgrove's gone. Show me a battle, the war's not won, but let's celebrate now. Hillgrove's gone. Show me a battle, the war's not won, but let's celebrate now. Hillgrove's gone. Party! war's not won, but let's celebrate now. Hillgrove's gone. It's only a battle. The war's not won, but let's celebrate now. Hillgrove's gone. It's only a battle. The war's not won, but let's celebrate now. Hillgrove's gone. It's only a battle. The war's not won, but let's celebrate now. Hillgrove's gone.
All right, so that was Riot Clone with D1 Fries off of their album D1 Fries with that, and the song is Hillgrove, and some of the lyrics are pretty good. It says, down in Whitney, Oxfordshire, there's been a farm for many years. You won't find this farm in fairy tales. Here cats and kittens were raised for sale. In darkened sheds they had no fun. Those kittens would never feel the sun. Cats used as breeding factories. The kittens sold to vivisection laboratories. Pretty intense.
Yeah, that's really sad.
It is sad. And speaking of vivisection laboratories, this is a good segue into our interview segment for today's show.
Mm-hmm.
And for this interview, we were fortunate enough to, through our incredible connections, which is to say, thanks, Josh and Chad. I think it was Chad from Food Fight who hooked us up with Josh Harper, who is currently one of the SHAC7. And if you don't know the story of the SHAC7, Josh describes a little bit, but I think it's really important for anybody out there who is a vegan, who is interested in animal liberation or animal rights, to be intimately familiar with this case and to back this case tremendously, because I think this is a watershed moment in the repression of of civil liberties. It's a watershed moment for the movement. I think it's a time that people need to start thinking very seriously about government repression.
Definitely. It's a really scary time ever since September 11th. And they're going to be talking about, in this interview, we talk about the bill that was passed back in 1992, the Animal Enterprises Terrorist Act. And it's really a scary bill, and it's really vague, and it's really vaguely written to basically makes it illegal to take pictures of, or otherwise trespass, or hinder any kind of animal business.
Right.
So, which is vague enough to, I think, even include, like, being vegan. I mean, in certain terms, if somebody wanted to push that.
Yeah, you could potentially push that, right? I mean, because what many vegans want to see the very downfall of the agricultural industry. So if you are, in fact, threatening the economic interests of that industry and calling for the downfall of that industry, you could potentially be coming in violation of some of these terms of the act.
Yeah, and it was written back when the ALF was becoming successful and having a lot of really being heavy in the press, late 80s, early 90s, and that's when it was written. But now, post September 11th, it's gotten a lot scarier to call someone a terrorist, and it's gotten a lot worse, to be accused of being a terrorist. And of course, as 60 Minutes would say, and other groups, that we're the number one terrorist threat, apparently. That animal rights activists are the number one terrorist threat facing the United States right now, which is kind of silly, but considering,
How could we be terrorists if we're all tofu-eating soft hippies?
I don't know. So
if we're too busy aligning our chakras to actually do any terrorism.
Right.
I mean, because that's it, right? I don't know. But talking to Josh is very illuminating. And it's a chilling thing to think about and talk about. So we talk about more of an interview. What it is, though, is Josh and his co-defendants got into some heat for applying pressure to Huntington Life Sciences, which is a firm that performs animal tests for other firms. So essentially, if you are a company and you want to outsource your vivisection or animal testing, or you want to test a product on animals, you could hire Huntington Life Sciences to do this for you. So Josh and some other folks were putting pressure on this firm using a website. And the
point is here that they didn't do any direct action.
Right. So it's not like, they were out kind of wearing the black balaclavas and liberating mink or anything like that, right? And, how I feel about that is a different story for a different day. But I think it's really telling that they are in such deep shit at the moment. I think it's really telling of the state of affairs in this country. I think it's really telling of the power of the kind of presidency in this country, the fear that people have of activists that are successful. And I think they are, in a sense, a victim of their own success. So we'll just roll that interview. A lot of the stuff we talk about, and I don't want to kind of rehash it, right?
Mm-hmm.
We'll let that go. And we will, of course, link all of these resources talking about the SHAC, so you can do your own research on it and come to your own understanding of what's going on there. We'll link all that stuff in the show notes. So here's our interview with Josh Harper of the SHAC7. All right, we're here with longtime activist Josh Harper, and some of you may know who Josh is, and some of you may not know who he is, and we're hoping that we can just maybe talk to Josh about the SHAC7 and some of the things that are going on around that. So welcome to the show, Josh.
Hello.
I guess to begin, a really good place for us to start would be maybe for you to give us a little bit of background on some of the things that are going on in terms of your life right now, and maybe in terms of also where the SHAC7's at, what SHAC is, and kind of, where everything is coming from.
Well, I guess back in about 2001, I was sitting in my apartment in Seattle, and I was visiting an internet site, and I saw some streaming video footage of animal abuse that had taken place inside of a contract research organization called Huntington Life Sciences. And the campaign against that company, Stop Huntington Animal Cruelty, had just sort of come to the United States. I was so angered by what I saw that I immediately got on the phone, and I called up the campaign phone number and just said that I wanted to get involved. At that time, the group wasn't even very established, and so here in Seattle, a number of my friends and I, we just got together. we printed our own literature, and we started to hold protests against a company that at that time was Huntington Life Sciences' largest institutional investor, Stevens Incorporated. The campaign ended up going really, really well locally, and so well that Stevens actually closed its Seattle office. And so I decided, though, that I wasn't done with them, and that the animals needed somebody to continue fighting for them, because just closing that Seattle office, I knew wasn't going to ultimately shut Huntington Life Sciences. So I moved to Little Rock, Arkansas, which is where Stevens Incorporated is headquartered, and I started to run a pressure campaign against their top executives in the South. That went really well, phenomenally well, and after about a year of pressure, Stevens Incorporated sold millions and millions of dollars of HLS stock. They got rid of the loan facility that they were holding for Huntington Life Sciences, and HLS at that point actually almost collapsed. I knew, though, once I moved to Little Rock, that things activism-wise are going to change for me. For one thing, I actually had the town sheriff show up on my doorstep one day, and he knocked, and when I answered, the first thing he said was, "I'm going to run you out of town," which was a little awkward. I don't really know what the etiquette for something like that is, but it was very kind of Western. I felt like, Sage should, roll through the background. Anyhow, after I got back to Seattle, though, the campaign started to target another huge multinational company, Marsh Incorporated, which at that time was the insurance brokerage for Huntington Life Sciences. And labs can't operate without all sorts of industrial insurance. So we began going after them, and they're a huge multi-billion-dollar company, largest insurance company in the world. And after, again, about a year of pressure, they dropped Huntington Life Sciences. But what we didn't realize while we were running this campaign is that these really, really powerful corporations, and I know this is going to seem very naive of me, what we didn't realize is that these people are, of course, very connected politically. Mm-hmm. And so what we have happening right now is essentially these powerful people from powerful corporations have gotten in touch with their powerful friends to basically try and stop the SHAC campaign. Last year, I was laying in bed at 6 in the morning when the Department of Homeland Security came and knocked on my door, and I was arrested on federal terrorism charges. So that's what's going on with me.
So federal terrorism charges. I have such a hard time rallying my head around that when I read up on your case, because as far as I understand what's going on, I mean, what you're essentially being in trouble for is for a website, right?
I am actually not being connected to the website, at least not that I'm aware of right now. 3 of my co-defendants are facing 23 years in prison for allegedly running a website that mostly posted news that it gathered in other places, things that had already been published. The thing that I'm being accused of, and I'm facing 5 years in prison for, is for giving a speech in front of 11 college students where I advocated sending black sheets of paper through fax machines to financial institutions. And I also wrote an introduction to Stop Huntington Animal Cruelty newsletter where I basically said that it didn't bother me that some Huntington Life Sciences employees had their cars set on fire. I recognize that that's a very radical stance, and I recognize that that's not a very popular stance, but I also feel that I have the right to say it, whether people like it or not. And unfortunately, what we're seeing under the Bush administration is that there's becoming greater and greater loopholes to free speech. In our case, they're arguing that I did not have the right to make that speech to those 11 students or to write that introduction to the newsletter because they're saying it resulted in a legal conspiracy to make other people commit criminal actions. In our case, all 6 of the human defendants, not a single one of us is accused of a physical act. All 6 of us are being prosecuted for pure speech activity.
That's absolutely ludicrous to me, because what you described to me sounds absolutely like free speech that should be protected by the First Amendment. I think it's absurd. I mean, I think your case really potently illustrates how when we have a kind of a state that's become nothing more than a manager for the interests of capital, I mean, what happens? Is it true that you're facing stuff under the Animal Enterprises Terrorism Act? Is that what it is?
We are. Each of us is charged with a single count of conspiracy to violate the Animal Enterprises Terrorism Act. I have an additional charge related to conspiracy to utilize interstate facility, telecommunications facility, essentially a fax machine. And then 3 of the other defendants, Kevin Jonas, Jake Conroy, and Lauren Gazzola, are facing additional interstate stalking charges, which, by the way, Kevin, Jake, and Lauren, none of them have been to the states in which they're being accused of having participated in this conspiracy to stalk people. And in some cases, they'd never even heard of the people who they allegedly were contributing to stalking.
That is just mind-boggling to me. What do you think the government's trying to accomplish here by kind of branding you and your kind of the folks that are also indicted along with you? What do you think they're trying to accomplish by branding you all as terrorists? I mean,
well, I think for the most part, what they're trying to do is they don't want the SHAC model of activism to spread to other movements. One of the things that Stop Huntington Cruelty has been phenomenal at is, first of all, just outreach. We have found people all over the world and managed to get them involved in this campaign. And I think that's kind of scary to the government. I don't think they like the idea that a movement this broad and this international could have spread so fast. The second thing is that Stop Huntington Animal Cruelty doesn't target corporate logos. We don't stand outside of empty buildings on the weekend and yell at bricks and mortar and, hold signs. We target, to be quite frank, flesh and blood, decision-making people who have weaknesses, who have a breaking point. We go to their homes and we make sure that they cannot ignore us or our message. And we've been, to be honest, we've been very, very successful with that type of campaigning, because for once, these corporate executives, they can't hide behind their security. They can't hide behind layer after layer after layer of secretaries and assistants. We approach them directly with our message. And so when the government had helicopters flying outside of our houses last year, when people with submachine guns were coming through our doors, they press released all of this. And it made news in the New York Times and Newsweek and publications like that. And I think that it was very clearly meant to send a message to everyone else that if you participate in the style of activism that these people are participating in, and if you become too effective and begin harming the bottom line of these multinational corporations, we're going to send you to jail.
Man.
So what do you think are the implications then for the future of the animal liberation, animal rights movement?
Well, long term, I think that this case is going to become important for everyone. I understand that a lot of people in the animal rights movement are uncomfortable with the radicalism of Stop Huntington Animal Cruelty, and that's something that I certainly understand. I understand that this type of activism is not for everyone, but if people don't get behind the SHAC7, they're going to see their own brand of activism eventually coming on the chopping block. In the last year or so, the FBI has become increasingly nosy about animal rights activism in general, even at one point launching a project that they called the Vegan Community Project, essentially we are all being spied on right now. And in my mind, if this SHAC7 prosecution goes through, I don't think it's unreasonable to say that, maybe next year, the next round of indictments is going to come down for people maybe working at PETA or maybe even in defense of animals. And certainly PETA has done home demonstrations with their Kentucky Fried Chicken campaign. They've done shareholder targeting the same way that Stop Huntington Animal Cruelty has done. I honestly think that if they can convict us for pure speech activity, purely for advocating these tactics on websites and in newsletters, I don't know how long it's going to be until other outreach and education groups start seeing the same sort of FBI surveillance and harassment.
I think that's such a vital point, and I think that that's one thing that we often lose track of in the animal kind of rights or liberation debates, is that I know that there's kind of a strand of thinking out there that wants to push away or distance itself from the radical tactics and things like that. And I think that if we make the mistake of kind of distancing ourselves from what's going on with the SHAC7 right now, and if we distance ourselves from supporting you guys and women as well, I think we potentially put the entire thing in danger. The entire movement stands to lose in really important ways.
Oh, absolutely. And I think another thing that a lot of people don't realize about this case is that we are being prosecuted. The government, what they are relying on is that we said we wanted to shut down Huntington Life Sciences. Because this is an abolitionist campaign, and because obviously if you shut down a multi-million-dollar company, you're going to cause more than $10,000 worth of financial loss, which is, the criteria for it becoming a federal charge. If we are convicted, abolitionist campaigns could virtually become outlawed by the U.S. government. The only thing that a person would be able to request from a company is, bigger cages, essentially, welfare reforms. If we're convicted, the government will have set the precedent that by stating that your goal is to stop a particular industry or a particular company, you fall under the Animal Enterprise Terrorism Act.
That is so completely fucked up. I mean, 99% of the vegans I know would then be accused of terrorism under that, because 99% of the vegans I know want there to be an end to animal agriculture, want there to be an end to vivisection as a whole.
Obviously, any one of those things would cost more than $10,000, if it were to be abolished. And obviously, if they can get us for not for burning anything down, not for beating anybody, not for even trespassing, if they can charge us for pure speech activity under a terrorism law, then I don't think it's going to be very long before we see this happening to other people. And that's why it is absolutely crucial that people get behind the SHAC7 and that we defeat these charges.
So how can people get behind the SHAC7? I mean, what's the best way for one of our listeners out there who's just kind of hearing this and is completely shocked at what you're telling us? What can they do?
Well, the thing that personally would mean the most to me, the thing that I would be happiest to see, is if they come to our first court date on February 6th in Trenton, New Jersey. Between 11 a.m. and 1 p.m. there's going to be a massive demonstration, and people are coming from all over the country for it. Me and one of my co-defendants, Kevin Jonas, we just recently finished a speaking tour, and we were in the South at one point at Blacksburg, Virginia, giving a speech, and people came up to us afterwards who had no interest in animal rights. They were people who, they looked like just kind of everyday farmers or something, and they came up and they were so outraged by the First Amendment implications of this case that they're going to make the 10-hour drive to Trenton, New Jersey. We spoke in the Midwest, and we met people in Madison, Wisconsin, people in Milwaukee, folks that are going to make the drive out from there. So if any of your listeners, no matter how far of a trip it is, if they can go to Trenton, New Jersey on February 6th, that would mean, I think, the most to me and our co-defendants. Just to have people standing outside the courthouse, letting the prosecution know, letting potential jurors know, letting the judge know that this is a case that's important to all American citizens. I think that would be the most phenomenal thing. But there's also other opportunities to help the SHAC7. People can donate to us online by visiting SHAC7.com. That's SHAC, the number 7.com. And the other thing they can do is we have an amazing art auction benefit that's being organized by the people at Herbivore Magazine, Food Fight, and Merrimack Furniture. That's coming up in Portland on January 20th, and it's going to be phenomenal. Actually, we just heard that Glenn Friedman, who's probably one of the most important photographers of the last several generations, we heard that he's just donated a piece to the auction. So
that's
great.
Yeah,
Gonna be
wonderful.
Incredible.
Yeah, good news.
Yeah.
So just, I think since we're talking about the auction now, can you tell people a little bit more about the kinds of things that people can find there and what's going to be happening there?
Sure, certainly. The auction was actually originally the idea of Chad and Amico from Food Fight. They had a lot of friends in the art world, and they just kind of started contacting them, asking if they would like to send pieces. And word kind of spread really, really fast. And now we have a lot of sort of notable artists who've sent work in the past few weeks, and there's still more coming in. I understand that a lot of our supporters, though, aren't going to be able to show up and drop a few $1,000s on a Lenny Friedman photograph. And so we also have a huge list of people who've donated to a raffle that's going to be going on, and there's going to be some amazing pieces in that. Merrimack Furniture, who makes probably the most beautiful furniture made right now. I mean, just incredibly beautiful pieces. They're donating a piece of custom furniture to the raffle. There's going to be a custom-made bike frame. Tons and tons of companies like Moo Shoes have donated gift certificates. And so for folks like me who only have a couple dollars to spend, they're going to be able to come out to the benefit and contribute to us as well.
Wonderful. I'm so glad to hear that people are coming together to help you out there. And anyone out there who's interested, we donated a couple books. So
Excellent.
Yeah, it's not much, but it's something, right?
I think kind of though the thing about this case that's really been touching to me is that everyone who can help is helping. Everyone is doing their little piece, and hopefully we'll see that sort of people power defeat these ludicrous charges.
I really hope so, because I think the charges against you are just completely absurd. Everything I've read, and I did quite a bit of research before we talked to you because I wanted to make sure I had a good background on what was going on, but everything I read that describes the case, it describes where the government's case is coming from, seems to me to be so completely out there. I have a hard time wrapping my head around the fact that they can even bring charges against you. It baffles me. And it makes me wonder, is the U.S. state becoming kind of this, what Mussolini would have called fascism, right? This kind of marriage of corporate power and capitalist power. It's absurd.
Well, I might be a little biased in answering that question, but I would argue that we are witnessing fascism right now. The government paid one of my best friends to spy on me for 3 years.
Wow.
The government in this case, they obtained more search warrants, trap and trace warrants, and phone tap warrants in 2003 for animal rights activists than they did for Muslim extremists. In other words, they put more investigative power into the animal rights movement than they did into Al-Qaeda in 2003. We had more than 100 special agents working on this case full time. Our phones were tapped. Our mail was read. They actually paid my mailman to write down the return addresses of everything sent to me, to write down the license plate number of cars parked out in front of my house. And keep in mind that this wasn't because they believed I'd, again, burn anything down, assaulted anyone. It was because I had written things and said things that they disagreed with. And so, this case I think is very frightening, and I think it should be a wake-up call to people everywhere that the U.S. government is not representing our best interests, that this is not about protecting everyday people on the streets, people in my neighborhood, in my community. This is about protecting the wealth multi-billionaires like Warren Stevens.
It seems transparent to me that that's what it's about, especially when you think about the money that's involved. And I think you mentioned earlier about kind of being successful, and I think as more and more movements become successful, this is something that could await them as well.
Absolutely, and when we follow, even just the recent history of social justice movements in the United States, you always see that once a group starts becoming large, once they start becoming popular, once their tactics start having an effect, there's this FBI response. The Black Panthers, I think, are certainly illustrate that very well. They're the Black Panther newspaper at one point, its circulation was beginning to rival that of the New York Times and the Washington Post, and that scared the hell out of the U.S. government. And consequently, a lot of Black Panthers found themselves dead, assassinated. The American Indian movement, they had a movement that spread like wildfire across the United States. And of course, you don't hear about the American Indian movement now because the FBI essentially shut down their entire organization. Committee in solidarity with the people of El Salvador, the FBI illegally tapped more than 5,000 phones throughout the course of the 1980s to shut down that purely legal above-ground movement that was largely based in the Christian church. And so what we're seeing now with SHAC is absolutely no different than what we saw with those movements.
I find it really baffling at one level, too, that eco-terrorism, as it's been called in some of the congressional hearings and things like that, is being called the #1 domestic terror threat. And I have such a hard time understanding that when we have complete right-wing, white supremacist groups out there who actually have a history of violent action and who actually have a history of doing pretty horrible, despicable things, and yet we have animal liberation movement termed as this kind of terrorist movement. It annoys me, it angers me, and it makes me wonder what the fuck,
Yeah, I mean, when you look at the history of eco-sabotage and of animal rights militancy, I mean, you have more than 30 years of history now with not a single human being ever being killed, and with the number of injuries, you can count them on one hand. And then meanwhile, you have white supremacist groups, separatist groups, nationalist groups, and in that same 30-year period, you can find thousands of dead people. So why are we the priority? And I think the clear answer is because white supremacists aren't threatening corporate profit.
That's right.
That's right.
They don't threaten capital very much.
Mm.
Well, I mean, we've been kind of heavy. Can I lighten it up a little bit?
Sure.
I have it on good authority that you used to play a lot of Dungeons and Dragons.
Yes, I did. I was a dungeon master. I wrote my own. I used to actually write my own Dungeons and Dragons modules, and I would go to role-playing conventions and sell them. And actually, kind of a funny story about that. I was in Eugene, Oregon, a little while ago, which is where I grew up, and a guy on The Simpsons is actually an amalgamation of two real comic book shop owners in Eugene, Oregon.
Oh, wow.
Stu and Daryl, who work at Emerald City Comics in Eugene. That is comic book guy. And I was in Emerald City Comics. I was looking around, and there was a couple like nerdy young kids up at the counter talking to Stu and Daryl about this really ancient role-playing game system, and they were going, there used to actually be this guy locally, and he made his own modules. I still use them. They're amazing. They were all talking about it, and it was like, wow, that was me. So having the comic book guy endorsement, really, I felt a lot of pride,
So what was your favorite character class to play?
Oh gosh, I usually played fighter mages, dual class characters. I had one I played for about 10 years named Genghis Grimtoad. So. Yeah, boy, this is embarrassing stuff. This really makes my animal rights tough guy stock go down and talk about stuff like this. It's hard to show up at the speaking dates, and I'm trying to talk about the animal revolution, and everyone's thinking about me rolling 20-sided dice, and it definitely harms the image a little.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to.
No, it's okay.
I just thought I should lighten it up a little.
Yeah. I don't know. The interesting thing is, though, is that a lot of the D&D and comic book nerds I grew up with did eventually become activists. Not always animal rights or environmental activists, but a lot of people I knew from that time period do human rights activism. They work for nonprofits. So maybe there's a good connection there, Maybe a lot of your listeners will come out of the woodwork and say they used to play D&D.
Hey, I used to play D&D, so I can admit it. I have no problem with that. So is there anything else you wanna get in before we close it?
I guess I'd just like to thank you for being interested in interviewing me and for helping to publicize this case. The prosecutor in our case has said that it's his goal to set the limits of free speech post-September 11th. Despite that fact, we actually haven't really gotten a whole lot of support from the broader animal rights and civil liberties movement, and so I'm really happy to take any opportunity I can to publicize the severity of this case and the necessity for us to win.
Actually,
so thank you very much.
No, I appreciate it. I want to ask you one more quick thing, though. Something you just you mentioned just made me think. You mentioned you aren't getting very good support from the animal rights community or animal liberation community. That kind of surprises me. I would think that there would be a lot of rallying to the cause. Do you have any idea why that might be the case?
I think unfortunately the government has succeeded in the last 3 years in one of its main goals, which is just to frighten the hell out of people. And I think with activists, I mean, everything from the Sherman Austin case to I don't know, a lot of the raids that environmentalist groups dealt with during the Republican National Convention, so on and so forth. I think a lot of people are afraid that if they come to our aid, they're going to find themselves in our shoes. But the reality is that if people do not come to our aid, that's where they're going to find themselves.
Right. And it's also surprising you're not getting any help from groups like the ACLU or any of the free speech groups.
No, we haven't gotten any assistance from them, unfortunately, and quite frankly, I think the shameful reason for that is because there's no money in it right now.
Mm-hmm.
I think that if we're convicted and this goes to appeal, suddenly we'll see the ACLU being interested, because then it becomes almost a sexier issue if people are in jail and they can say people have been jailed for utilizing their free speech rights, but right now, when we're just facing charges and so on, I don't think there's much of a fundraiser potential, and unfortunately they've kind of just left us out to dry.
Man, I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah, it's a shame.
Well, I want to thank you, though, for being on the show. I think I really admire you standing up like you are to what's going on. I think it's absurd, and I think that if we don't all stand up to this kind of intimidation, and frankly, it strikes me as intimidation, I think that we're apt to see things get worse in the U.S., and I don't think that's something that the animals can afford.
No, absolutely not. Again, if the government wins this case, it's going to harm animal activism across the board. So now is definitely the time to stand up. If we don't do this now, it's going to set our movement back a good 20 years. We're going to see groups like PETA attacked. We're going to see all the groups that everyone gets their free literature from attacked. Any group who does anything controversial, and let's face it, the animal rights movement by its very nature is a controversial movement.
Absolutely.
We're gonna see people getting shut down right and left. So absolutely, it's critical right now that people lend their support.
Wonderful. Well, thank you, Josh. We really appreciate your time.
Yes, thank you so much for talking with us.
And we'll link all of the websites you mentioned and everything else in our show notes. And we will also make sure that we get the date out for the February 6th date. Make sure we can get as many people there as we can.
Excellent. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Josh. Okay, so that was our interview with Josh. Here's a guy who's facing federal charges and he can still laugh.
Yeah.
He can still chuckle.
Yeah.
And I think, I left that interview thinking, my God, here is someone who is an incredibly articulate, staunch defender for the cause, someone who won't back down in the face of what is probably one of the most powerful, well, not probably, definitely one of the most powerful governments in the world, and he won't back down.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's amazing. I think that now is the time for us not to back down.
Yeah.
In the face of these kinds of threats.
Yeah, and the whole thing is just so incredibly scary. I mean, if you fight a corporation, what's to say that next, boycotts are going to be becoming illegal now?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, where's it going to stop?
That's one of the concerns. I mean, you're not really sure where it's going to stop. And I think a lot of it stems from the fact that, if you're hitting the bottom line, that's the concern.
Mm-hmm.
And right now, I think I'm surprised, actually, that there's not more of the movement coming to the defense of these folks, because they're doing really important work. And I kind of feel like, where the hell is everybody? Where is everybody? There are a lot of people backing it, but I don't see the mainstream of the movement backing this or helping these folks out.
Mm-mm.
And I'm wondering why.
I don't know. I guess they're frightened of being implicated in what the SHAC was doing, which is silly because, even PETA has been under investigation as supposed terrorists.
But I think that Josh raises a good point, is that if the mainstream of the movement doesn't come to the aid or doesn't take some interest in this case, what you're going to see is a repression of the mainstream part of the movement. You know what I mean? You're going to see, not to say that the SHAC7 aren't mainstream or whatever. I don't want to create some weird distinction or division, but I think if you don't see more people kind of paying attention to this, that, okay, well, what's next? Who do they come for next? That's the thing that I think about as I listen to this case. If they're successful with this, who do they go to next?
Yep.
And I think it's really disheartening to see essentially these folks left to hang out to dry by certain parts of the movement, and other parts of the movement that are afraid to just touch them, or even afraid to go there. I think that's problematic. I think it's one of the problems with kind of the animal liberation, animal rights movement, whatever you want to call it. I think that there's some quarters that are very afraid of what they term radical tactics, but I don't know.
I don't know. It's a tough issue.
So what do we need to do now? We need to close the show?
Yep.
We've probably gone really long this week.
Amazingly long.
And I don't know. I just find that interview completely mind-blowing. Well, I don't want to end on such a dire note. Josh does play D&D, so we can chuckle about that. But anyway.
Right, so podcast.veganfreak.com.
That's right, and you can send us email at podcast@veganfreak.com. If you send to that address, it goes to both me and Jenna at the same time. And you can always call our voicemail line at 267-295-1944. That's 267-295-1944. And don't hesitate to send us MP3 files.
Yep.
Okay, next week we'll be back with an interview of Liz and Dan from Liz Lovely Cookies. And then the week after that, we're going to have Ryan from VegBlog on the show.
Excellent.
So we've got interviews lined up for you, and eventually we will get Eric Marcus on the show too. If I have to drag him kicking and screaming into our studio, we will get Eric Marcus. We've been trying for a long time back and forth, and
he's a busy man.
He's a very busy guy. He's the busiest man in vegan business.
He is.
He really is. He goes all over the place. He puts on road miles like you would not believe, and air miles, I'm sure. And he's a very eloquent speaker for the cause as well.
Yes, yes.
So anyway, thanks for tuning in. Sorry to ramble, and we'll talk to you next week.
Bye.
Bye.
Just stumble on from drink, fight, drink, we just fight against your solipsistic nightmare. Invisible under your